That is. Oh, I mean, I laughed already. I've already thrown my hat in on that being funny. There's a man with 2 mouse mats that have just released that you're assassin.
Speaking of hats, great way to cover up a receding hairline. So,
I didn't say hats. I said mouse mats. I don't know how many hats. I don't know how many hats.
Throw your hat in. You didn't want to throw your hat in.
You might also sell hats.
I've never seen you wear a hat. So
really big head.
You have a large head. I have a large head.
We both have quite a large head. I think it's a precursor to being a caster.
Could you imagine if we were like one of those conjoined twins where our heads were stuck together? It would be like 4 times the size of a normal head.
We wouldn't be able to get through doors.
Not even close. And
doors
that's
would
just
be
our
a big
egos.
struggle. We'd never be allowed on a roller coaster again.
We casted together once in Copenhagen for the major on, I think it was like a stage 1 or phase 1.
Yeah, it was like a nothing game.
It was a very low stakes game from what I can recall, and it was a very pleasant time. Yeah. Well, now you are, we're shackled together, or some would even say conjoined together at the head.
I wish there was a community fan artist. I could be like, fan artist, draw this monstrosity.
Take a photo of Emmy and I, and then just stitch our heads together.
Glue them together.
At a very inconvenient angle. Not that there is a convenient
angle. What's the most convenient way?
I suppose maybe I'm thinking just like logistically, maybe like back to back. But then I mean, like, that makes everything else challenging.
I think that would be a harder way of living, but it could allow some fun switcheroo moments.
I want to go this way. No, I want to go that way. Who's got the stronger calves? And both you and I, elevated calf game. But operator bands. When you look at the operator bands here, because I'm going to be doing the color commentary work today.
Yeah, you're my Pengu.
I am with a better hairline. In terms of the operator bands, there have not been that many maps actually played in this region. When it comes to operator bands, Monty and Ying.
Oh. Sorry, just.
Oh, hell yeah, Black Magic.
Sorry, that was just me.
Yeah, that's just.
That was me. I'm sorry.
About with the settings.
I'm sorry. I'm real sorry about that, guys.
Just on camera. Yeah, I have to imagine that because we're the rebroadcast, they were probably doing that on the Brazilian broadcast, like while the casters were on, and they weren't even thinking about it. And then we're like, no, we're exposing
anyone else.
We're exposing all of it. Operator bands, Nomad. And 3 times prior to this map, very, very strong on Cafe for a litany of reasons. Mira as well, only being banned 1 time in this region. So that is a bit of a surprise. Vivo Keydstars going on to a deeply uncomfortable map based on the numbers, and then pulling out 2 target bans against BD. As for the Monty and Azami, these are quite literally the 2nd most banned attacking operator and the 2nd most banned defending operator, so those are not a surprise at all. They've got a lot of strength. Monty is banned out quite heavily in this region for how many teams actually play this operator and how well they play it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, is if you took that Azami around the world, you'd see the same sort of statistics. Same with the Mirror. Monty and Nomad, a little bit more particular to, I think, the playstyle of the region. But hey, they've won so many things. They're allowed to do whatever they like, what they think is responsible. I know we didn't talk about much about our predictions. I can see Black Dragons, if they start to steal a bit of momentum here, for how rubbish they are at the entry statistic, which they have just kind of messed up pretty much every game. They should be able to get themselves a good control and a good 2-0 here, but it's almost Gomez. The first one bit as he just pulls back from the back of top red.
Not the same Gomez from North America, by the way, whose name I said probably a nauseating amount of times last night and the day prior when M80 were playing. M80, one of the teams that will represent North America, by the way. Ask is the first to die.
Aren't they the best team in the world?
Depends who you ask.
Ooh, they're already in across the top of bar, but the kit isn't, so they're trying to just get some control of the back line of it. Stemp is gone, top player, top MVP. Nothing compared to this, the first opening round of Vivo Keyed. They're able to get themselves down to a 5 versus 1 now. It was said on the desk before that they do have a habit of being able to keep rounds balanced, but you sort of hope that they don't for this one. Lawyer is stuck inside. The diffuser is cold on the roof. They are just peppering bullets towards corners, but for all I said about Black Dragons maybe getting themselves some good momentum, the first is a Rodada Perfeita.
You know I don't speak Spanish.
I'm so sorry. I forgot that you can't read.
Oh, come on, I'm not American. First round, how did that go? And how did that go? Well, Black Dragons had 2 separate players enter solo with very minimal support. They get picked off. Evo Keydstars are not roaming unconventionally on that bomb site, but they're certainly taking chances that, to me, tell one of 2 things. Either one, you're confident on this map and you want to knock them off their stride. So play into, if they're a quick team, play into shutting them down early on. Or it does the complete opposite, which frankly, I'm not certain. I can't get in the head of the Vivo Keydstars players. But if you know that if you are just going to sit in the bomb site and then you become a sitting duck, Black Dragons are a Tomahawk cruise missile. You don't.
It's just a normal scenario.
You don't need to be Richard Attenborough to know that if you're a duck, you don't want to get hit with a Tomahawk cruise missile.
If you're a goose, it's all right.
Especially Canadian geese. Those are Satan's children. They pull all the evil out of every new Canadian that is born, and they put it into a Canada goose. But no, I mean, Vivo Keydstars had an incredible amount of map control. And again, as we saw from Black Dragons on their entry, Vivo Keydstars were also largely roaming unsupported. But if you're roaming unsupported and you're playing angles that are advantageous to you and the attackers are playing unsupported and they come in without drones, defenders are going to win more often than not just based on the way that maps function. So Evo Keydstars are either very confident, which again, we don't know. There's no reason for them to be as of the record that they have on this map. So I lean towards the assumption that they're going to try to knock Black Dragons off stride by playing really aggressive and very unconventional for the way that Cafe usually plays out, and hope that it pays dividends. On round number 1, it certainly did.
With 50 seconds gone, they're being as cautious as they can here. Black Dragons, they're doing that pitter-patter rainfall take. Start at the top. As you do, break across the top. See if you can die less. And you're trying to wrest control of the pixel corner, maybe across the side of bar as well. Gomez is underneath, waiting. There might be some vertical angles, just cutting off the top of the rotate at the top of red stairs too. So they've got to be a bit cautious as they go for this pressure, which is why they're still being as cautious as they are. Hornet buzzes their way in a circle. Loop themselves back round to a slightly safer angle, but there's sort of preparation on this. They're sort of saying, come on in, see if you can get yourself swung in. And you said that aggression is keeping Black Dragons a bit at bay. Throws of utility, but nothing has caught anyone as of yet. It's going to come to a bit of a hot swing.
They got to take control of Piano. That's the first step, right? You're looking at a reading defense, which is what we have laid out for Vivo Keydstars. You're hard-pressed to get into that reading bomb site where most teams will focus on without wrestling Cocktail away from the defenders. And this is the engagement that happens. There's not a lot of time left for them to then clear out the top floor and translate. And there's at minimum 2 players of Evo Keydstars who are holding very aggressively from Freezer and Cocktail. There's been no real progress from BD to take out these players from these spots.
Yeah, huge amount of time it's taken to get this. The loss on the first fight, as I said, the entry statistics is not something that goes with them, but they at least get the trade back. 40 seconds, and they've only just got boots inside of Freezer. You've got Daffodil still playing a swing position on one side of the floor, Lender's on the opposite with a sliver of health, but as long as they're still in that place, this time that's ticking away, this 15 seconds is pointless to throw themselves in on the plant. They almost got caught out there, but he did, as I said, waste the time specifically for this role. 20 seconds now, and it can just take one player to put one bullet into the head of a planter, and the round is theirs. Daffodil wants that retake. He really wants this engagement to go in his favor. Azar's going for the kit. The cover's inside laundry. There it is. The kit going cold, as I talked about. It just takes one player being in this pressure position, and then suddenly you're not going to be able to get that kit back down again, and 1 versus 1 is how we end. They're going to have to blow their way in through the door. The fight is on the left. He cannot find it. Stemp, MVP of the league so far, and saves the end of that round.
Stemp really has been an exceptionally good player and really does play most of those rounds well on whatever utility you throw his way. Takes 2 minutes for Black Dragons to go through about 7 drones to clear out that top floor. And then you have to take engagements. They do the first one blind, but they double up on the top floor. All the while, Ask goes through a completely different part of the map than we were expecting. At this point, Vivo Keydstars should have a numbers advantage that can carry them through. Then that sloppy play of the mute on white stairs looks away. How does Loira win that engagement? That should not have been a fight. Could it have been bad comms from Vivo Keydstars that drew the mute's attention towards reading as they heard the case go down again? Entirely possible. You still got one player roaming. That was the Legion, who had to retake the bomb site. But then Black Dragons win 2 extremely easy gunfights. Because again, Vivo Keydstars were scrambling. And when you've got a 4v5, and there's 20 seconds remaining, and you are the 4, and 2 of those players are in the bomb site, yeah, you're going to be taking engagements and you might win your duel. But the bomb site's going to be working for you. You should still have some utility that works in your favor. There really weren't a lot of reasons why Vivo Keyd should have lost those fights. And yet they still did. And this has been the story of Vivo Keyd up to this point. Stats showed it. Almost every single round for Vivo Keydstars is close. They've got talented players. It should not be this close. But while they are carried with gun skill, I think sometimes the strategy is left wanting, and in that particular round, that was a good example of it.
It's the stress that's going to be put to the test as we get deeper into a best of 3, best of 1's, sort of a throw in the air and see what sticks. We get a long game, a long brawl, and it's always worth remembering that they've had 3 losses to get to this place. Their success rate is a lot lower than Black Dragons, which has been so consistently strong with just the sort of last day slipping away from them. Also, you said 20 seconds left on the clock, and you just can't stop thinking about him, can you?
I can't. Diffuser down?
What do you do? What does it take to call?
Next, I guess, next step.
Yeah.
I'm not certain.
Listen, I've been wanting to get a hold of you for a while to ask.
Look, they don't pay me anymore, so I can't answer that question. What's that saying where it was Brock Lesnar or something like that won a UFC fight, and he's like, I'm going to go home and drink like this beer because the sponsor of the event doesn't pay me anything? It's like, yeah, hell yeah, brother. It's kind of the same here. What does it take to call next? I don't know. PayPal doesn't pay me anymore, so I don't have an answer.
I did forget that Brock Lesnar was your brother.
Yeah. Kindred Spirits. A good Saskatchewan farmer now from Canada. Anyway.
And you're a bad Saskatchewan farmer.
Not from Saskatchewan at all, so I suppose I'm quite bad.
At
some point, Hates is going to have to realize that front bake is no longer a concern for Vivo Keystars. It seems like he's woken up to this realization, and now he can play more freely. So you've got Wamai, who can either commandeer bottom red, he can support Lenda by whiskey, or can continue to throw utility over towards Bakery because he knows something that we don't, which is maybe that he thinks this Black Dragons team will come around and eventually pressure from that spot. But this looks like a freezer take for BD at this point.
That's entirely it. It's this sort of take where the team has pulled themselves entirely off the site. They're sort of waiting for the drop to come down. They have 2 players inside that are just hucking impact and hoping for the best. But with 30 seconds left, with Goyos and smokes popping, it becomes such a dicey take here. And the Wamai has been untested. The only real cost of them being in that position is, well, their discs are all out there. It's not catching any of these explosives that are raining down towards the site and towards the attempted plant. At this point, you can see both of them are just tucked in one semblance of safety. Ask and Daffodil, 1 apiece, but now they're trying to get the kit down inside the site. Again, 10 seconds left, and they've really just battered down against the hatches and not found a single catch. Live is in a position where they can't get the back of this kit. They're losing out on these trades engagements. They're out of time to try and get it down, and it's just the frustrating thing there about that take is when you try and push the players out for so long and you are throwing yourselves in with such a sort of, this is where I'm going, la 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 la, it's very easy for Smoke to go, okay, here they go, stop.
Well, all right. That particular round, Black Dragons took no time at all clearing out the 3rd floor because there wasn't much offside presence for Vivo Keydstars. First kill came with what, 27 seconds left in the round. It was a very slow take from BD because the Vivo Keydstars didn't really need to hold the map themselves. But one thing that we always refer to as is phantom pressure, which is that even if you're not roaming, it's still usually going to take 30 to 45 seconds for 2 players to drone out the entirety of the top of a map. And that information is only going to be particularly relevant depending on the map for 5 to 10 seconds. You have to follow up relatively quickly. On that very first round, Black Dragons did not seem to do that, and that was their major deficiency that we talked about. In the second round, they were better at it, but still not particularly great. Well, they were downright miserable at it in that 3rd round. They were able to drone quickly, but once they got that first floor, that was the top floor rather, once they got the first floor under their control, then they moved to the second floor, and guess what? They struggle there. I don't even think Hates died in that round, by the way. I think he just sat inside a bakery the entire time. If you don't need to move a player into harm's way for the entire round, you are in pretty good shape. And Hates had the easiest round of just about any player in the lobby sitting inside a bakery, while the entire execute came utility-less from Black Dragons towards the back. I was worried that Hates would ultimately be ineffective, and he was, but not for the wrong reasons, for all the right reasons.
Yeah, it was just unpressured. It was very chill, very relaxed. Whoop. Don't think they wanted that to happen.
Or not. Oh, my
Mistakes
Lenda.
occur, though. Warden. Those who don't know, they do have an ability where they can see through smoke, but they also have the 1.5. I'm more than happy to try and swing it now against the windows. The pressure is still slow and still steady. Remember how this came down? As soon as they dropped down last time onto the hatches, they were closed against. So it seems like they want to pull away from that pressure and trying to move into it. Vivo Keatstars want to apply that pressure back on. There's a grenade to get the first catch onto the Warden. They are removed. There's that rotate back. Onai is trying to step in to offer some countenance to be like, whoops, sorry, didn't expect those grenades. They've already moved off. Black Dragons, they've pulled themselves back. They've sort of done a strike on the back end, said, haha, we're over here, and then pulled the rug and appeared at the top red.
Oh, you've got half of your drones remaining if you're Black Dragons. And Hates gets... what are you doing? It has been a very frustrating stage for Ask enjoyers, who is consistently struggling to find kills. And when you do that, you tussle on the window. Yeah, usually Hates would fall off of that position, but he just refuses to relinquish Piano. And with no info and no drones and no utility, they're just going to keep punishing him. Every player will take a piece of HP away. But you have buried half of this Black Dragon squad, or almost half of the squad, in the same part of the map. BD does have the advantage. That's good. A lot will fall onto the shoulders of Gomez, who now creeps up to take a very similar spot inside a bathroom.
I love that they are just stepping themselves in here and getting themselves prepared. Look how slow and cautious that drone was. Sure, it didn't get caught out with how limited they are. They still have the swing shield. They still have a bit of wiggle room and width on the utility. And they know that if they cannot close out that position, then they can't really try and tuck a plant towards the default. They've either got to try and drive themselves all the way across the top of bar, as it seems like they're going wider and wider onto, or they've got to see if they can try and cover the motions. And without the kit moving, bouncing back and forth either way, they're just giving more time, more pressure to themselves here against the swing. And here's Gomez driving all the way up, a team kill in the corner, a little bit of a massacre, leaving a 1 versus 1. They don't have themselves in a position to plant the kit. They're swinging on Ben past the bathroom. That was a messy end.
Why re-engage there? Gomez had no reason to take that fight. Keep running. There was 4 seconds left on the timer. Why are you putting your team in a 1v1? You're a Jaeger. You can get to pallets and get around the corner without the lion pushing you. You had tracers go through the bathroom. You knew where he was. That's only one small thing that I saw as being an issue.
There was a lot at the end of that round.
We're in a frustrating situation right now where Vivo Keatstars aren't doing a ton right.
No.
But Black Dragons are doing a ton wrong. And for a team that is supposed to be as good on Cafe as BD is, this is a very puzzling first 4 rounds, because Black Dragons have had struggles in a couple of their matches. They've kept it annoyingly close for their fans, I'm certain. But here, slow clears, poor utility work, no follow-up on drones, needless engagements for both teams, frankly. But in that case, it was early on. It was Ask taking the fight that didn't need to be taken on Repel. You've got 2 players who can drop hatch, and you're trying to flush out somebody in Piano. You've got 5 drones left. You know at this point from what you've drawn, there's only a single player in Piano. Why take the engagement on the window? Why not wait for one of the players to drop hatch and then swing the window at the same time? It's just these little things that don't really seem to make a lot of sense and leave me kind of scratching my head saying, this is the team that everybody's been banning Cafe against?
It almost feels like they are succumbing to the pressure of this best of 3 more than Vivo Keatstars. Vivo Keatstars seem so free in their motions. the fact that they're sort of sticking themselves in and going, no, I'm going to just play behind piano and try and kill as many of them that come around the corner as I can. Them going back into that fight there. It's almost like they're like, look, we're just playing this game against these people. Like, they're playing for Elo more than what they're really playing for in a really good mentality sense. Whereas Black Dragons, every single step seems a bit overtly cautious. They're losing a lot of drones, but they're not having anybody move behind them. Patoxy gets the cover there. On the attempt on the jump out, they're just going to try and get themselves flashed so they can go for the pick back up. There is players on the rappel watching as well. They're making their way over, but again, it's that sort of swing play. The Solace had a read on someone on a drone, but probably be beating themselves up. They couldn't confirm the kill.
I mean, a Solus dying early is a big sigh of relief for Black Dragons, though Black Dragons have had issues with drone work, whether a Solus has or has not been present at all. I like the pace for Black Dragons in this round compared to what we've seen before, but the point that I made was that you clear out the top floor very quickly. It's what comes next that is most important, because Black Dragons can get into the building fast, and that they have, even though they've lost Loira. And actually, scratch that. They don't even have control of this full top floor yet. Well, Lenda and Hornet Tower still up there. So you're treading very close to the bomb site up in Piano, but there's still two players lying in wait not far from you.
And they're droning out. They're still trying to drone out the side of Pillar. There's nobody to try and move behind Stemp's drone. A great take from Live onto Lenda. Gonna try and bounce some pressure down on the opposite end, but there's a Vivo Keydstars player wanting to swing into the fight. They want to keep sort of trying to find these little moments. 2 C4 kills this round so far. That's something the drone's not going to be able to pick yourself up on, and it's just that reactivity that Vivo Keyd seem to have. Ask. The drop rotate over on the opposite end starts doing some of the soft destruction here with the sledge, finally making their way across the second story. Something that could have and probably should have been attempted to put this pressure on about 40 seconds earlier, as Toxie's left sort of watching the dance of how do we get this diffuser in the door. Almost a third C4 kill there. Live somehow survives, but it will just take a sniff of anything else from the pockets in the final 10 seconds. Gomez has the cover. Gomez has the kill. Watches up. There's not a second player there because Ask wasn't in the right place to try and stop this. They can win that fight, sure, but it's 4 seconds. Again, the situation we're in. Hornet gets the diffuser once again, and you're left sort of a bit confused.
Bit confused. A bit confused.
I'm polite.
If you're going to try a plant in default spot, which is where that Dokkaebi was planting, or by the doorway, which might not be default, but is relatively close to default, there's basically 2 things you need to do. Number 1, ensure that you've got a sledge, a buck, somebody play. It doesn't even need to be that operator. You just need somebody above with a relatively good gun and good mechanical skill to watch the holes that are made by breach charges, sledge, buck, Flores, ram, etc. They made the kill holes. Ask was the one that was supposed to watch it, but he was still sledging away. And then number 2, the step is after you get those kill holes, you put somebody over laundry hatch, you drone out laundry, you make sure that nobody's playing in laundry and nobody is playing behind the bookshelf. They didn't do that second step at all. Gomez was still inside of laundry for half the time and then was able to rotate over, pop up, and then pick off the diffuse planter, which is one of the more brazen plants I've ever seen, and they've done it absent of smoke. There's been no smokes being brought by this Black Dragons team, so there's no concealment for that diffuser to go down. If you're going to attempt a default plant or close to a default plant, which is in the wide open spaces, you need to ensure that the most common spot that most people play in reading has been taken care of. I'm very interested to see where the mute jammers were in that round, because part of me wants to give some credit to Vivo Keyd for setting up denial on that information.
I love how you're saying part of you wants to give them credit, and they won the round.
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of these rounds are Black Dragons beating themselves.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to sound too pessimistic, and I'm really trying not to. But we're in a situation right now where, unless there's stuff we're missing, I am not seeing a lot that I like from Vivo Keydstars. I am seeing a lot I don't like from Black Dragons, and Black Dragons have just had to burn a timeout and are now at risk of going down 5-1 in the first half of their own map.
It could have been 5-0 already as well. That other round came down to the 1 versus 1 sort of showdown on the post plant attempt. If that reading door was open and they were cleaner on the swing, it could be a 5-0. And it feels, again, it's that weird place here where Black Dragons don't seem to have that pressure of we need to get moving, we need to get into this game, but at the same time the pressure of we're in this game and things are going wrong isn't quite hitting. But I think you're very correct, because you have to remember, whoever wins this game, what, they're playing W7M next? W7M would slaughter either of these two teams right now, based on how they're playing.
W7M will slaughter. Yes, W7M is their opponent. Correct. Sorry, my brain stopped working for a second there.
It's okay.
The two teams that got the buys were W7M and NiP. NiP obviously plays winner of E1 phase, which is up next. Yep. But yes, W7M plays next match, which will be tomorrow. Yeah, I mean, W7M will slaughter most teams. There are a couple teams in the region that I think can give them a good run for their money. In a best of 1, in a best of 3, I don't know. And in a best of 5, I don't think there's a chance. Obviously, none of these teams are going to play a best of 5. Best of 1s are over. So in a best of 3, W7M is going to be quite comfortable. But you're absolutely right. With the way that both of these teams are playing right now, W7M will make absolute mincemeat out of them.
Yeah, and then they've got to play another game still with the chance. It's still so far away. Even if they're going for the win on this game, as they should be, both these teams need to try and find a tightness. It's the start of a very long slog before you get yourself ready to fight on the biggest stage. Anyway, seems the Team Talk has led to a little bit more width on this approach. They're still sort of setting themselves up and saying, we're going to smash our way down over the top here. We're looking towards Frieza. We've got the drop, and the players underneath are happy enough to sit and stay. That C4 won't catch anybody as of yet, but you're still sort of, you know, looking at your watch, looking at the time at the top center, and looking at where Black Dragons are, because we don't have pressure down in the staircases. We don't have pressure against any of the players. No direct challenges as of yet. It's the same pace they went for. They were almost netted the kill onto the smoke there. More out of Hornet's positioning than anything.
The players that was first talked about when we began Brazil was Hornetau and how good he consistently is. But honestly, the Vivo Keystars not seen the play from him that I think you come to expect. Hates has actually been, by my thoughts, the best player on the team. And now Hornetau is dead. All those smokes are gone. This is a better round for Black Dragons. They are going after the freezer still. They know what needs to be done. They've lost Patoxy, but you've still got players in position. You got to drop, though, at some point. Emmy, there's 10 seconds left. This is going to be an absolute brawl.
And a Glash that's just reading all of this intel. It just takes a single kill. They get the person with the kit, and I was confused. Now I'm kind of frustrated.
That was one of the worst first attacking halves I have seen this entire stage.
It's their map.
It's their map. They had no pressure on that second floor whatsoever. You kill the smoke who's playing inside of prep. You've got some freedom to go after Bakery. Even one person to go over by Bakery. Gridlock tried, from what it looked like, the Gridlock tried to go through Whiskey, which is still not really a split take. But you have 2 players of 4 close to the bomb site. Osa walks in. You both just casually glance at the Clash and go, yeah, I guess that's fine. And then you try to get the diffuser down. You get picked off. The sledge is there, unable to do anything as the Osa's behind the shield. And then you run out of time with 3 of your players still left, 2 of whom are upstairs holding angles. Which is fine, by the way. The 2 players upstairs holding angles is what you expect. Because once you get that diffuser down, you've got somebody up there, like a Sledge, a Buck, a Ram, etc., depending on what you want to bring. A Zofia was who was up there, by the way, getting that first pick on the Hornetau. So you've got the players upstairs in the right position. Why are you so slow? Again, there's not much from Vivo Keystars' defense that I'm looking at going, yeah, that'll do. Instead, I'm thinking, what are Black Dragons thinking at this point? I wanted to give them credit, and I did because I thought some of the things that they did to start off the first half of that round were okay. But boy, are they in trouble on their own map.
I mean, it's potentially going to turn into a very long map here. I think we will see Black Dragons have some comfort on their defense. I think 2, maybe 3 rounds in a row, and Vivo Keyd will take their time out and see if they can try and push this one over the edge. Because as you sort of have said a couple of times, it's not that they are playing out of their skin here. They're playing an aggressive game, and their gun skill is sharper than Black Dragons, and that is the only deciding factor right now. Is when the fights are coming down, Vivo Keyed have been ready to try and take them, but now they've got to be the ones that put the pressure onto their opponents, and, well, Black Dragons really sucked at their time management before. There's the first off the board. Ask is able to tie himself. Bit of revenge. Stemp is waiting for the Flores to roll it down, and here's that sort of handed over to the other team. Black Dragons don't have to do any time management anymore, and they are so happy for it.
All that criticism that I thrust upon Black Dragons might now also be thrust upon Vivo Keyed, depending on the way that this map plays out. A 5-1-1/2 on Cafe is not normal. We've been just seeing 4-2s pretty much every single map. Back and forth ad nauseum.
You sound thrilled.
No, I mean I'm wearing a different hat. We're gonna keep that pun going, which is my analyst hat.
Yeah. It's Pengu's and it doesn't fit your head.
The last time there goes Ask. That's a nice shot by Lenda, by the way. The last time that I did full-blown color commentator work was like that West Garfield Park LCQ match where I think their opponents won like 14-1 or something like that. So not a lot to analyze here. But hey, Vivo Keyed Stars have the upper hand and they're going to keep it going until they tie back, and now it's just live to die. Okay, well, this one might be over in a hurry, Emmy.
I mean, that was sudden, right? Obviously, we're talking about hats and picturing hats and you wearing different hats.
What is this, a Team Fortress 2 broadcast?
And yet we find ourselves suddenly in a fight. And what I really appreciate there, Vivo Keyed, which I don't think we got a taster from Black Dragons' attack really at all, was multi-dimensional attacks at the same time. It's something, you know, Jack Fresh Allen.
I am familiar with his work.
You're familiar with him.
I am familiar with his work.
You might hear him always talk about the way Siege is played and how it's about probing the defense and finding a weak spot. And I don't know.
He does talk about probing a lot.
He says a lot about probing and
a suspicious amount of probing.
I only like one of those things. But,
suspicion.
Yes. We find there, Vivo Keyed had the engagements ready on multiple different sides. They had the player putting the pressure in, the IQ gets the kill onto Ask, looking all the way across the bar to allow that player on the east windows to suddenly have space to swing in. We didn't really get a taste of Black Dragons ever doing that. They did go and attack one side and then entirely pick up and go to another side, but it's not very effective in the modern game of Siege. There's only really a couple of teams that can do takes like that. One of them, VP, has done it very, very well over in EUL, but here, against a team that's so solid as the sort of gun skills as Vivo Keyed have been, and happy with that aggression, it's where Black Dragons are sort of falling apart a little bit. If you and
I think it's very charitable to say a little bit.
Yeah, I'm
okay.
Full of care. If you and I are sewn together, does that mean that Hap and Pengu are as well?
Say that again.
If you and I were conjoined twins by the head, as a reference to the earlier bit, does that mean that Hap and Pengu are as well?
Why does it necessitate somebody else?
Well,
why?
You know,
why?
At the karmic balance of the world.
Could you imagine having to talk to both Hap and Pengu at the same time all the time?
Wouldn't understand a word. Goodbye.
That's correct. This is a very tough round for Black Dragons, and basically what's happening here is they assess that they're down 6-1, and they know that this map, in a lot of ways, is pretty much over. So, do what a lot of teams do at this particular point in time. Get aggressive, take wild chances, engage on these 50-50s, and hope to God that you can win a couple gunfights. Now, obviously, this hasn't worked for Lawyer or Stemp. I don't know if Patoxi's going to pull it off. No, Live is also on 1 HP. Vivo Keyed Stars might flawlessly end this, and, well, no.
Oh.
Ask with 1 kill.
You got to get a few more, though. He can't find anything else. I never would have predicted this result. I don't think anyone would have, to be honest. Even Vivo Keyed, you know, you're sort of going in with the idea of a win, but a 7-1 against the team that pulled off a 7-0 earlier on in the sort of season and the split that's put in great fights throughout it. This is the bounce back game for Vivo Keyed, and it was a bit of a slaughter.
A bit. You need to be more honest with the people that are watching. Okay,
was a
there are
slaughter.
dozens and dozens of viewers right now.